This is Americanitis, episode 33 for September 19th. I'm your host, Daniel Sagner. This podcast contains harsh language and covers adult topics. You'll be challenged by views with which you do not agree. We may not be politically correct, but we are correct about politics. There's something in the air. Can you feel it? It's like a crackling. There's some kind of background energy that's always present. You never notice it because it's always there, like you don't notice the air around you. I'm not talking about some supernatural sixth sense here, folks. I'm talking about the things you pick up automatically as you go about your day. I see it in how people walk, how they drive. I hear it in their voices when they speak to a cashier. It's like everyone is more aggressive and on edge. It's more intense somehow, more jagged. It feels like we're building to something and yet staying in place, like we're rats on a wheel. Every time someone is shot by police, we're instantly told that it's an example of misuse of force, that the cop was a racist. Even if we find out later, like in the majority of such cases, that the force was justified, it doesn't matter. You can't unbreak the window. You can't unshoot someone. You can't unburn the local Wendy's. The temperature gets raised. The social background radiation gets a little more intense. Every time you get out of your car to head to the supermarket, only to realize that you forgot your mask. Every time someone looks at you funny for clearing your throat. Every time you bring your kids to the park and another parent is yelling about social distancing and bathing their kid in Purell every 5 minutes. Every time you turn on the news and see cities burning. Every time you watch football and are greeted with yet more social justice propaganda. Every time you send in a job application and realize you are one of 1,000 people applying for the same job. Every time you open your eyes in the morning and realize that you still don't have any productive work to do, and that you just have to wait for the world to come to its senses. All of these small events build. They turn up the temperature. Like the individual snowflakes falling on a mountain, they are almost nothing. Until, that is, you get enough of them piling up one on top of the other. Then just a small movement is needed. Just a shout at the wrong time, and you have an avalanche. Averted eyes, curt tones, aggressive driving, heads on a swivel while walking down the street, the sale of firearms skyrocketing. Everyone else feels this too, even if they can't describe it. Over half a year of panic, plus our inability to trust what comes out of the twisted mouths of our media and our government does not a healthy populace make. On one side, you have those that trust hook, line, and sinker what the state tells you is true. On the other, you have people who know it can't be right, but don't know where else to go for good information. The third option is, of course, conspiracy theories, but this is a serious discussion, and those are not serious people. As a co-worker of mine said, this is like the opposite of what happened after 9/11. Then, we all felt together. It was an external enemy, and we all stood as one America, but our trust was abused. Now, when we have no one we can turn to for the truth and we see cities burning, we see our neighbor as our enemy. The threats are internal now. COVID has whipped everyone into such a frenzy that we are just fine with our rights being violated, and at the same time, the barbarians are at the gate. They're collectivists at full strength, embedded in every position of power. Russia doesn't need to interfere in our election. They need a bucket of popcorn and ringside seats to this shit show. If anyone's gonna kill America, it'll be Americans. What Americans are suffering from is a feeling of loss of control. There are those who will not get on a plane, but will drive a car even though it's safer to fly. They do this because they need to feel in control. I can sympathize with this notion. Control over your life or death in a vehicle is very similar to the freedom that I advocate. You have the wheel. You decide where to go and how fast. That's how you get out of this tailspin. That's what sets us on the right path. You get the state out of the way, defang the bureaucracy, let people live their lives as they see fit. Can you imagine? I don't really know what to do with this. There's no bigger point I wish to make. Maybe let me know in the comments if you've felt this as well. I'm working on a big project, by the way. It's not my usual kind of thing, but I think it's important and needs to be said. Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss it. Have a good one. Got a topic or feedback? The podcast is at Americanitis Tech. You can also follow me at Dan Sagner. My last name is spelled Sierra Alpha Golf November Echo Romeo. Please subscribe via Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts if podcasts are your thing. I'm also on YouTube, so remember to annihilate that subscribe button. Patronize us at patreon.com/techside. Show notes are at techside.net/Americanitis. Theme music by Eddie. I thank you all for listening. Later days.